What's up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I am coming to you with a little bit of news and a little bit of my opinion. I am annoyed with this drama surrounding Club Infinite Earths, Matty Collector, Club Eternia, and all that good stuff. It's as if those guys don't really know how to give us what we want, and it seems like we're constantly in a situation where every year for the last 3 or 4 years we're being told that our line is about to be done. I've gotten to a point where I don't even care anymore. If you don't know, once again, DC Universe Classics, it's being said that DC Unlimited, or whatever they're calling it now, is going to be canceled or no longer found in retail after this current or next wave of figures. This isn't the Batman Unlimited stuff, because there's more shit that's coming for Batman Unlimited, but we're talking about just the DC Unlimited stuff. So all our Justice League people, unless of course the Justice League movie comes out, all that stuff, that's stopping. All our individual heroes that aren't in a mainstream book right now, all the ones that are in a mainstream book, everything that we have been getting since DC superheroes, not counting your Batman and your Superman stuff, it's all gone. So if it's not movie related or cartoon related or something, we're not going to have this line. And they're saying it's due to low sales. This coming from the people who never seem to understand how to ride the wave of success while we have it. While Justice League Unlimited was on, they did not make the whole cast of Justice League Unlimited. If they had done that while they were in the public eye, while they were in the public consciousness, you probably would have made more money during that time. Did they take advantage of, Young Justice being on the air? No, they did not give us all those characters that showed up in Young Justice for a reasonable price during the time Young Justice was on the air. Did they even Batman Brave and the Bold, did they take advantage of that? No, they refused to. Instead, Matty made those goofy, kiddie, Brave and the Bold figures, instead of making the majority of the characters that you saw teaming up in Batman Brave and the Bold. I'm sorry. So this company is kind of they're not adept at marketing properly. No matter how nice Scott Knightlick is, or Knightlich, however you pronounce his name, I'm sorry if I'm butchering it. No matter how nice any of the guys that you've met, various people have met, it seems like their marketing and ad department doesn't know anything past Barbie, Hot Wheels, whatever. And it's sad. It's clear who the fan base is, but they're not taking advantage of it. And like I said, I personally don't care anymore. I've managed to collect the majority of the characters that I want, that they made, and the rest of them I'll get them from DC Collectibles, because at least I don't have to worry about this shit every year with DC Collectibles. And I'm also going to put my money into SH Figure Arts, like I have been doing for the past couple years, off and on. I'll just exclusively collect more, or I'll put more effort into my SH Figure Arts collection, because they are kind of expensive, but for the $40 that I'm getting, or that I'm paying, I get a shitload of toy. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have to worry about these yearly crises where they're telling me that the line that I'm collecting currently is going to be done. And I'm like, I know I put thousands of dollars into this shit. Like, you've seen my collection, I've seen some of your collections. I think we've all put a couple thousand into, DC DC Universe Classics, DC Superheroes, DC Unlimited, All-Star, whatever you want to call it. We put the money into it. Even Young Justice. And they repeatedly say, no, you guys aren't supporting it enough, or there's not enough fan support, so we're going to have to cut the line. Like, that doesn't make sense, Once again, it's kind of like the video game industry in that their projections are horribly unrealistic, and it's what dooms these lines. It's just greed, We've dealt with horrible fucking distribution where certain lines never show up until 2 lines later. certain characters you never see in retail. You know, it's almost as bad as what they're doing with Marvel Legends right now, where there are supposed to be what do they call them, chase figures or variants that have never, they haven't surfaced, and it's months that the line has already, or the wave has been in stores, and no one's seen, you know, nothing. No one's seen anything of those variants. You know what I'm saying? The variants even are on the box of the freaking figures that are in the store, and no one's seen them. Not here, not Manila, not the UK, not Japan, nowhere. So it makes you wonder, what the fuck? Anyway, with Mattel, it's as if they're just putting shit out at their own pace, regardless of us collectors and the fact that, you know, there are places where, you know, there are people who are willing to buy because they end up buying it from other places, but they would be willing to buy if they could get it in their own neck of the woods. I'm completely tired of this tactic, you know. Some people think that the line is actually in danger, or the wave, the line, I guess it's the whole thing. The line is in danger every year at the same time. Realistically, no, they're not. This is their marketing strategy. The fact that I think it's done, what, in the 19th? It's the 18th or the 19th. I can't remember, and I don't care. But the fact that it's almost done. They're trying so hard to tell you that, you know, it's gotta do it. You gotta get it done. You gotta hurry up. You gotta get this thing, you know, you gotta get this subscription taken care of so that we can continue doing stuff. You gotta do it. And it's like, you know what? You guys are playing with us too much. It's costing us too much money. I mean, the subscription is $200, 200 something, 275, I think, altogether. You could just pay for the subscription by itself, which is $35, and I think that would actually secure you a figure, but I don't think they actually allow you to just do the subscription for that figure and not do a quarterly or a yearly subscription, or the yearly plan to pay for your figures, or monthly plan to pay for your figures, or whatever. I think you have to do it all either in a quarterly or a monthly along with your $35, so it's never just $35. There are other things. I could be wrong, but still, why do I need to pay for something that I should have got to begin with? You know what I'm saying? The figure that they're trying to give us is Doomsday. And it's become one of those things where you look at this and you're like, wow, that would have been cool. So this is the tier 1. If they hit their tier 1 goal as far as subscribers, then we will get this as the subscription figure. That's if they hit this and don't hit anything else. If they hit tier 2, we get what we actually wanted, which was Doomsday Unchained. Or Unleashed, I think. It's Unchained, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, you know, and they know that this is all what we wanted. You know, if they had switched it around where we get this, if they hit tier 1, I bet you they would have hit their subscription goal already. Instead, they gave us a tier 1 and a tier 2, and they're not going to hit it because, frankly, we all feel, many of us feel, that we should have got this already. We did get Doomsday in the very first wave of second wave of DC superheroes. It was an okay figure. It just wasn't the right size. But, you know, it was nice at the time because we had a Doomsday figure in our collection and he was posable. But this one is supposed to be, you know, collect and connect or build a figure size. So he's going to tower over your figures. And, you know, how nice would it be to have a Doomsday that's freaking ginormous compared to your, you know, your figures? But we have to wait for the subscription. I mean, what kind of bullshit is that? What kind of marketing is that? You know, we're told repeatedly that, you know, the line is failing and they're not making enough money, but they do a dumb move like that. What kind of sense does that make? You show us a figure that we would all like to have. Instead of just selling it outright and making that money that you would make, you tie it to a subscription that costs $200+ and it's full of figures that we're not really clamoring for, you know? And I'm going to show you those figures too. And I know there's going to be a bunch of you who just have to have everything and you don't cherry pick like I do and like some of my friends do, but still, this practice sucks and it needs to be addressed. So as you can see, these are the majority of the figures. You see Superboy in there, you see Bat Zorro in there, you see a really lame Ra's al Ghul in there, and Ocean Master, you see him in there, but you do see figures that I know people want, and they've been wanting since this line started, since Justice League Unlimited went off the air, like the Huntress. Or like the, you know, hook hand Aquaman, who they hid his hook. That's a favorite of mine. I wanted that figure since the beginning. Instead, we kept getting Golden Boy Aquaman, even though this was the Aquaman that you were seeing on television during the JLA run, or JLU and JLA and whatever. Whose idea was it to ignore the TV show and just give us random shit and say, that's what you're getting, be good with it? You know what I mean? Like, what? It must be the same people who thought that we needed Vampire Batman to add to our ever-growing list of Batman figures, or this dumbass Batman, Beware the Batman figure that looks like he needs to eat a couple fucking, you know, burgers or something. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? That makes no sense. We're still getting shit like that and shit like this that should have been out during the TV show gets completely neglected until now. I mean, up until now, we didn't have an articulated Huntress figure. The best that we got was the Jim Lee Hush figure. Now, they decided to give us one, and they should have done this when Hush was being made. They should have done this when she showed up on Justice League Unlimited, because we got a question figure. And a lot of us, I mean, I did it. I had Huntress, my Jim Lee Hush figure from DC Direct back in the day, with my, you know, question figure just to fix it off, but they didn't do it. You would think that they would ride the success of such a widely renowned or well-renowned, well-received show that was kind of paying tribute or homage to all of the DC Universe history. You know, the line was called DC Universe Classics. I mean, granted, it did begin with Batman lines and then Superman lines in, 2003, I want to say. But still, since then, and I've been collecting since then, they should know what to do. I mean, that's 10 years. We're in 2013 right now. They've been around since 2003. There are people who have every single figure, every single variant, every single, you know, whatever. Some of those figures were stupid, and there's people who still have them. And we're getting to this point where you're still seeing that the company doesn't understand who its fan base is. They don't understand who they're making these figures for. There's no reason why we're getting a figure of the Huntress in her Hush costume, 5 or 6 years after she showed up in Hush, and 5 or 6 years after after Justice League Unlimited went off the air? My bad. 7 years after JLU went off the air. And I think about the same, a little bit more after Hush was created, or what is it? Hush was created in 05, 04, 05? My bad. It was Hush was in 2002, 2003. So we're getting a version of the Huntress from a comic book that's 10 years old, and this same version showed up in a cartoon in the DC animated universe. 7 years before we get a DC Universe Classics, like a DC, you know, fully articulated DC licensed figure from Mattel, as opposed to DC Collectibles or DC Direct, who always makes everything, you know, first, because they just own, it's DC, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't make sense that it took this long. It doesn't. The biggest one that freaking pisses me off is this. Wally West as the Flash. We're getting this in the same vein, you know, Justice League had been on from, what was it, 2003 or 2004 till 2006, I want to say. Yeah, it started in 2004 and it ended in 2006. And he was one of the main characters on that show. And you mean to tell me that they couldn't have given us one years ago? You know what I'm saying? The lines ran about the same time, you know? Especially when the switch happened from, you know, Justice League to Justice League Unlimited. And we're only now getting a Wally West figure when he was one of the big seven in that show. You know, I'm not talking about the history of the comics because, you know, this line kind of transcended just the comics because they had all the different, you know, versions and variations and the different histories were all kind of combining in this line. And somehow they left out Wally West until now. And then to top it off, to add insult to injury, he has an online only exclusive. You will not find him in retail. I mean, we got Barry Allen a bunch of times and we didn't get him. We got Wally West as Kid Flash before we got, you know, Wally West as the Flash. Noting that before Jeff Johns got back on, you know, got onto DC Comics in general, Wally West was the Flash that we were seeing in everything because even DC understood that was the one you were seeing in the cartoons. So let's keep things current and have, you know, a unified continuity as close as possible, at least to, like, you know, which legacy character is wearing the costume, you know, at one time. You get what I'm saying? And somehow they totally ignore that and give us freaking Barry Allen for years, literally for years, and neglect the hell out of Wally West, because that makes all the sense in the world, and that's good marketing, and that's how you sell a brand and keep people interested and keep them connected to a brand that, you know, is multifaceted as far as media. You know, you can read these characters, you can watch them in movies, you can watch them on TV, and you can collect the figures. And it's all supposed to be collected. It's no one saying we couldn't get a Barry Allen version of the Flash, but it shouldn't have been before this guy. And it just goes to show you the disregard that the company has for its fans. We've been, like I said, backing this shit since 2003. That's 10 fucking years. That's a good run, and that's a lot of effort on our part. Instead, Mattel wants to put their fucking faith in shit like this just because it says Batman. I'm honestly sick of this shit. So, the new drama is, last year they showed us what the DC Unlimited figures were going to be for this year. Among those figures were the Vampire Batman, a lot of the Injustice Gods Among Us figures, and the Damian Wayne figure, who, once again, I still feel that the body type is wrong. I mean, he's 10 years old, and they got him with like a fucking 16-year-old built athletic body. You know what I'm saying? Like, but anyway, they showed Damian Wayne. A lot of people love Damian Wayne. I, for one, I don't care. I like his costume, and that's it. I mean, and I like that he can fight. You know, he's kind of hardcore in that way. But, you know, Damian Wayne to me was one of those lame ideas they should have never went with. But that's a story for another day. The point of the matter is they showed a figure, they got everybody's hopes up, and then they told us that they weren't going to actually do that figure. They canceled the release of Damian Wayne. So, of course, you know, you have options, right? DC Direct, now DC Collectibles, they did a figure of Damian Wayne during the Batman Incorporated storyline. But after they killed him off, his price skyrocketed. So you could just, you know, bite the bullet and pay $100 for him, or you could just be pissed off that you didn't get Damian Wayne. Then, yesterday, they show this. It's like, what the fuck, really? Now, for those of you who wanted Damian Wayne, maybe you felt like a glare of hope because you're like, oh, hey, this means I could get him because they made him and they're going to mass produce him. But they tie him to the subscription as a last ditch effort to get fans to support Mattel even more. This kind of shit makes no sense. I mean, the subscription thing ends, the deadline is tomorrow, I think. What the fuck? Really? And this is the kind of like I don't know, it's like short-sightedness. It's the kind of it's almost disrespectful. I mean, I just told you guys, we've been spending money on this shit for 10 years. I was like 23 or 24 when I started doing this. I had just finished college and I saw these figures. Actually, I was about to finish college when these came out. And I was like, oh my God, these are awesome. You know what I'm saying? Zipline, Batman, all that shit. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. Since then to now, there have been umpteen Batman figures, umpteen Superman figures, you know, and it just, we've asked for so many other people, and it took forever to get the ones that we did get. And it's 2013, you know what I'm saying? 10 years later, they're actually listening to us. The internet's gotten better with some stuff. There are forums dedicated specifically to the line, so it's not like they have to go that far to find out what it is that fans want. And we're still having problems, and we're still having them pop up and tell us for the last 3 years that they're going to cancel DC Universe whatever. Are you fucking kidding me? And you still have people that are gun-ho about it. Like, yeah, I'm going to give them all my money. Yeah, I got to finish everything, blah, 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 blah. And I know some cool people that they're completists, so they're going to finish what they can finish. But I don't agree with this practice. We shouldn't have to buy these figures online only. I mean, I've already shown you at least a handful of exclusive characters for online. I mean, shit, Jay Garrick, what about that design? They didn't even retool the design. What about the design says that it's a signature collection figure and you should pay $35 plus for that figure from Matty Collector because it says signature series on the fucking package? He's a character we should have had during the JSA line. Instead of giving us another Hawkman, they should have given us that fucking Flash. Mirror Master, another Flash-related character. What about his design was amped up or warranted him being a $35 plus figure that you can only buy online exclusively from Matty Collector? I mean, granted, there are people who sell them on like, eBay and Amazon and stuff, but what about that figure warranted the higher price tag? If they didn't ship it anywhere, they didn't have to pay shipping costs or, distribution costs, I guess I should say. They pay shipping costs because, actually they don't. We pay shipping. So I should take that out of there. They're not paying shipping. They're not paying distribution because it's coming directly from the warehouse to you. Why the fuck are you paying $35? They didn't offer it in retail. It's not like you had to beg them to do this. They chose to do this. They cut out the middleman and they're still trying to get money off of you. And then they keep telling you they're not making enough money. I don't know how long people are going to fall for this shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it kind of feels like it's finally coming to a head. No other company, none, zero, zilch, nada. Freaking Hasbro, they pull a lot of shit, but they don't pull this kind of shit with us to the point where every year they're telling you, for multiple years that the brand you've been paying your hard-earned money to is in danger. You know what I'm talking about? Like when G.I. Joe disappeared in late 90s, early 2000, it was only gone in certain forms. You could still find G.I. Joe all over the place. It was just the 3 3/4 inch figures. You couldn't find as much. You could find 25th anniversary versions of those characters and Hall of Hero versions of those characters, but there were no new, updates to the characters past that. Marvel Legends. Marvel Legends got to a point where after being around for a while, they were like, okay, we're done. Okay, fine. They're done. Somebody mismanaged Toy Biz, and Toy Biz stopped making, they mismanaged the Marvel brand, and Marvel sold it off to someone else or to various people. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, it's understandable. They didn't sit there and taunt you with shit and say, okay, you could have gotten this, or if you pay us more money, we will make the rest of the figures that we promised you we would make. No, they didn't do that. When I give my money to Bandai for my SH Figure Arts, I don't deal with that. And like I told you, I'm paying $40 a pop, and I get about $40 a pop worth of figure as far as my articulation goes, paint job, accuracy to either the comic, the screen, or whatever. And I'm not complaining when I'm done. I'm not complaining. There's been times where I wasn't happy completely with the end product because something might have been lacking because of the sculpt, or like, you know, something was neglected in order to give you the sculpt. But I'm never unhappy with my SH Figure Arts. Never. I never open them and one of the legs is glued together or painted stuck. And when I try to freeze it to harden up the paint and then move it, have the leg fall off. I've yet to have that happen. Knock on fucking wood. You know what I'm saying? So the QC issues, don't have them with those. You know what I mean? And that's the way it is with a lot of the Japanese companies that I spend my money on. And, you know, I hear people get mad about that shit, and they're like, you know, don't bring up Japanese company. Nah, I'm definitely going to bring them up, because not only are you paying a premium because it's an import item, even with the premium, you're not always paying what you pay for these figures that are freaking from a U.S. company. It doesn't make sense. Yes, they're developed and manufactured over in China, but that doesn't mean that we need to be paying premiums as if they're imports when they're made by a U.S. company. You get what I'm saying? And yet all of you guys are like, yeah, let's do it. But, you know, this is one of those times where I don't feel like this is necessary to save, because whatever they don't make, whatever Mattel fails to realize that we, you know, would make them money, I can always move over to DC Collectibles, who is doing a fine job these days, you know? And I've gotten to a point where, you know, I have no problem with that shit, you know? I'm not a little kid who needs to prove to people that I'm loyal and I'm such a fan and blah, 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 whatever you want to call it. Fuck that shit. I like what I like. I cherry pick till I'm complete with what I wanted to, you know, collect. And, you know, I do it, especially with the DC lines. I've been jumping back and forth from DC Collectibles to, you know, DCUC. And, you know, Mafex just popped up with a Dark Knight figure that kicks the shit out of all the Dark Knight figures that they've done so far, all the 6-inch scale ones. I might be picking that shit up. I saw that for $40 at my comic book store. I would kind of love to have that, because I like the one I have, but I think there are things that could be better about him. Because for one, he's not as posable as he should be, and he's a little too bulky. He needs to be skinnier, because Batman in those movies was he was sleek and a little, you know, trim. But there's a lot of companies that are just, you know, I don't deal with this shit from NECA. I don't deal with this shit from Playmates. I don't deal with this shit from, let me look around my room and see what else I got. Marvel Select. I just don't deal with this shit from anyone else. And somehow Mattel, of all companies, Mattel been around since, like, before most of us were born. And they're trying to tell us they don't make enough money to keep this line going, and we haven't been putting in enough money since 2003 to support this line. I have at least 100, maybe 200 DCUC characters. At least, you know, 100 something, or close, put it like that. And each one, on average, is about $20 a pop. And you're trying to tell me that there are people who have twice that amount because they bought all the variants, every version of a character. They bought all the releases of the same character over and over. All the Batman figures, that it's the same figure just in a new packaging, and they bought it. It's mint on card, whatever. And we're not talking about the worth of the figure after you buy it on the secondary market. I'm talking you paid $17, $18.99 plus tax, whatever, when it was in the store. I'm not talking about the ones in the beginning that costed like $8, you know, dollars. Like my Zipline Batman was like $8. I'm talking about since our inflation, the inflated rates, where people are paying $15 to $18 a figure. And some of us got over a couple hundred of these figures. And you're trying to tell me that we're not paying enough money to support this? I think people need to reevaluate the cost of this stuff. They keep telling us it's so expensive to maintain a line, and people are believing that bullshit from billion-dollar companies that have money coming in from several other areas. And you're trying to say, oh, this plastic is so expensive, blah, 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 blah. Look around and look at all the other companies that are doing the same shit and not having the same problems. Someone is misspending the money at Mattel. Someone is misspending the money at Hasbro that's supposed to be going to Marvel Legends. It's obvious. There's no reason why they should be complaining and crying poverty to us, and we are giving them money to completely offset that situation. We're giving them money for a specific, a very, very specific use, a very specific purpose, and it would, just by proxy, it would eliminate any homelessness, any, you know what I'm saying, any poorness, any lack of funds to do what you need to do. I mean, Marvel Legends, sometimes they, on the secondary market, there are Marvel Legends that go for some insane prices, you know, but Marvel Legends figures, if you think about back in the day, they gave us some really good shit, and some of those figures were really hard to find, but you would do the searching, and I know people who would buy 2 and 3 of them. I mean, have you seen all the people who were able to buy multiple Sentinels? Yes, they bought them from the secondary market, but the person who they bought them from a store, or bought them from an online retailer, or they bought them from someone who had to buy them from Toy Biz. You know what I'm saying? And that's how they kept their money. That's how they made their money. When people are saying, oh, it's so expensive, oh my God, No, it's not as expensive as you think. The plastic is not that expensive. It's the manufacturing process that's expensive, or more expensive, and they more than cover those funds based on, I mean, it's a company. It's not you and me in our basement. It's a company. There's hundreds of people, or at least 10 people, you know what I'm saying, on the small end, 10 people deciding how this money should be allocated and how it works. There's budget analysts, there's freaking accountants, there's freaking project managers and shit that keep things under budget. So crying poverty to people who don't understand the process, it's just another ploy, and that's frustrating because we just want good toys. That's all it is. I mean, they're fucking toys. It's not like they're cars. I mean, it's just, this is our hobby, and they're fucking telling us all kinds of bullshit that it just totally doesn't make sense. So I personally, I don't care. Whatever they don't do, wherever they fall short, I'll let DCUC pick up the slack. I'm sorry, DC Collectibles pick up the slack. We had a good run with DCUC or DC All-Star or DC Unlimited or whatever they're calling it now, but maybe it's just that time. You know what I'm saying? So, I ranted for a long time. I'm sorry. I had a lot to say because there's a lot going on, and I think a lot of this shit needs to be said, and it's kind of why I'm here. It's what I do. I don't want to have to be speaking badly about a line I've been collecting for 10 years, but I'm feeling like the amount of time and the amount of money that I put into this isn't really, like, on their side, it's not worth a damn. You know, every time they do something that would be remotely smart, like when they let us vote for which characters we wanted, and we voted for the question and they gave us the question, stuff like that was cool. We shouldn't have had to do that. They should have somebody who's paying attention to what DC Comics is doing at the time. You know what I'm saying? Some kind of liaison or strategist that watches DC's movement and the moves that they're making and says, this is what our strategy should be in line with. You know, that's marketing. Not sitting here and just throwing random shit at people and coming up with excuses for why it's good. That's bogus. That doesn't make any sense. You know, yes, there are people who are easily brainwashed and easily convinced that what they're doing makes sense, or that, you know, they're making sound choices, or that, you know, what they're doing is a good thing. But just because, you know, you have gullible people, it doesn't mean that that's how you should deal with everybody. Advertising is taking advantage of people's general gullible nature in the first place, because advertisers kind of shape the way people think and feel about stuff. But here you have a company who doesn't understand that they could use advertising. Most of the shit that they're actually making, honestly, and I know I just jumped from what they could use advertising for, but I have to cut myself off because if you're making toys of comic and cartoon characters, the advertising is halfway done for you. They could use that to sell their figures, but instead they refuse to follow the trends and use what's going on. I mean, this is one of the first times that they're actually like kind of on point with releasing the figure. I mean, they missed the boat with the New 52 because the New 52 Justice League's already had, what, 2 or 3 trades? You know what I mean? The New 52 Justice League. And they haven't even finished all the new 7 characters. You know what I'm saying? We're still waiting on Green Lantern and we're still waiting on Cyborg in the DCUC style. And we probably will never get those figures. And that's sad. DC Collectibles put all 7 of them out at once. What the fuck? What's the issue, Mattel? What is the issue? Your paint doesn't look like DC Collectibles. Your articulation is better, but not by much, considering every character has the same fucking body type. You know what I'm saying? Well, all the males, I'm sorry, in the Big 7, all of them have the same body type except for Cyborg, and you're reusing body types. I mean, there's so many things that Mattel is doing with the DCUC line. You know, 10 body types across the board. So you switch between those, you reuse parts, and you retool what you have to retool, but you don't ever do a brand new sculpt. And when they have done brand new sculpts, like with the Injustice figures, it's kind of like, ugh, really? Because they didn't let the Horsemen do it. And you're trying to tell me that they're not seeing ridiculous gains? At least with the old Marvel Legends, they mostly resculpted most of the characters. I mean, yes, their body types they reused for later characters, but in the beginning, every character had their own body. Almost every character. And we got ginormous fucking collect and connect figures. I mean, it just... Man. Anyway, I'm done. I'm finished bitching about this. Get at me in the comments. And I will see you in the next video, alright? Peace outside.